Welcome to Dental All-Stars. I'm Eric Vickery, President of Coaching at All-Star Dental Academy. I'm very excited to interview our guest today, Jacob Hiller of Dental Implant Machine. And today we're going to talk about how to create a higher rate of success with our dental implant new patients. And so this has been a very, very hot topic lately. And I'm so excited to have Jacob just share his insights and just really give us some ways to change our practices for the better. So let me tell you a little bit about Jacob. He wrote the book on jumping higher in 2007. That's right. For those of you who are also listening that want to improve your vertical leap, Jacob's your guy. So it's an interesting story. You're going to want to hear this story though. This has become the standard for athletes wanting to increase their vertical leap. What he didn't realize was that the same tactics would eventually help dentists find, engage, and guide more dental implant patients to better health and well-being. So he took that knowledge of what launched his first career into his second career is how I would like to say it. So now Jacob is part owner of Dental Implant Machine and serves as Chief Growth Officer. He's helped the largest and fastest growing dental implant doctors and organizations to scale growth using less known marketing tactics and creating a meaningful buyer's journey for dental implant patients. Dental Implant Machine has done over $350 million in dental implant revenue for its partners. So I'm very excited to hear what Jacob has for us today. And he's going to share some secret sauce with you, right, Jacob?
That's right, man. Thank
you.
Thanks,
awesome. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you. So let's just jump right in. Just give us some background because it's such an interesting story that you have that I want you to share with everybody about this. And I got to tell you, follow Jacob on Instagram. I was going, what is happening right now? I'm learning how to dunk all of a sudden, and I'm learning about dental implants and all this stuff. So just share with us the correlation, your story, how you got to this place.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Eric. So as a kid, I was obsessed with jumping. And at some point, I was hooking up athletes to electrodes, doing all this crazy stuff. And I kind of figured it out. I didn't know I was going to go into that niche. And the next thing I know, I have launched into a YouTube channel, and people are like, well, you need to make us a book. And so I wrote the book, The Jump Manual. And at some point, I served as a missionary when I was younger. And I had a missionary partner who was there with me when I was training how to jump higher and all that stuff, when I kind of learned some of my methods. I brought him on, and he became kind of a beast in his own right at marketing. He studied it. He came on new, and we started doing an evaluation for our athletes. Find out what type of jumper you are, and we'll teach you how to jump higher. And so that worked so well for us. And our product was a $49 product. So we were doing paid ads profitably on a tiny little product with really slim profit margins. And so that partner of mine went over to dental implants and started using the evaluation in the dental implant space before it was a thing. So he took this idea of, let's do an evaluation. How many teeth have you lost? So the whole evaluation style that you see all over dental implants now, he's the one that brought it over to the dental implant space for patients. So before then, people were just booking straight to a schedule. And so he created this less friction way to engage the patient, because we found that only about 1 to 2% will book an appointment, but 15% may fill out an evaluation. So it was really interesting to realize that what we did there, he brought in and really started crushing it for a lot of offices using this evaluation. And then, of course, that buyer's journey on the back end. So it's just crazy for me to realize that what we were doing there to squeeze so much out of a $49 sale, we came into a space where the sale was a $40,000 sale, and it was like a dream come true. And we realized just how much potential there was there.
I love that you use the term friction. This is a term that our clients should know and hear. So I'll do a quick reminder. In business, there's a term called friction. And you can add to this, Jacob. I'd love to hear your perspective on this as well. We talk about it as, hey, when you have a frictionless experience, it's just easy for people to do business with you. The more friction you have in your business, in your flow, the harder it is for people to do business with you. And on our side of it, in training the new patient phone call, it is, do we do a good enough job at converting the new patient caller into an actual new patient appointment? So or case acceptance? How do you make the perception to be easier for the people to do business with you? Is that how you would define it? What would you add to that?
Yeah, the way I look at it is I think that most offices are thinking of the patient journey from the moment they step in the door or from the moment the phone call happens. But if they can extend their influence to before then, they suddenly open up a huge audience of people who aren't as warm as the people who walk in the door. But if you know how to engage them and how they want to engage, you can bring them in the door. And so being able to see that buyer's journey from that patient journey from the moment they have questions or the moment they have the courage to start reaching out about it, we quickly realize that they're scared to get on the phone. They're scared to come into the office. There's friction, there's anxiety, but what they do want is to see if they qualify. They do want to see maybe a pricing guide, for example. There's different things that they are willing to have a value exchange.
Yeah.
But they're not willing to get into an uncomfortable situation yet.
Love it. We also use a system called the trust curve. Dr. Ted Morgan, one of our presenters and partners and coaches, one of my mentors and friends, wrote an article a while back about the trust curve. And what I'm hearing in what you're talking about is also building trust, because what he talks about a lot is, hey, the more time and energy and relationship time you have with these patients, if you do it well, the trust should be going up. You ever notice like a highly referred new patient who comes into you, you just feel this trust level is just so much higher versus a cold call, right? This just off the streets calling you. And so what I also hear you guys doing is, hey, you're also building some rapport, you're improving trust. I feel like I could trust this office based upon the experience I'm having before I ever even get in the door. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. And I think education is one way to gain trust. Like every aha that you give a dental implant patient, now you've earned more trust. And so the evaluation methods that we've used is also an opportunity to educate them about bone density, educate them about the different types of implant solutions out there. And so when they're able to now position themselves with a certain, I don't know if celebrity is the right word, but with some authority and some social proof as they're going through this process, then they come in with much more confidence and trust.
We call that credibility. Yeah. Credibility. So everything you do, this is a reminder for clients, right? Everything you do is either a plus or minus on the credibility factor. Every experience. And Dental Implant Machine, I think, is putting you in a position to be even more credible before they ever call your office. So let's get into it. So dental space, you've obviously been in these two industries. You've seen contrast, you've seen overlaps. Tell me about your insights into the dental space and where you are with the dental space and all of that now.
Yeah, what's so cool about the dental space and what's interesting about the implant space within the dental space is my analogy is this, like you could be renting cars. You could be a rental car company, right? Easy. People come in, what car do I want? And they make their decision. It's very quick. And now suddenly they're selling cars. And so there's this process. The rental car process is not the same as buying a new car and all the status and family decisions that come with it. So it's almost like there's two industries, two very different processes that are taking place. And I really love the dental implant space just because that journey is the outcome for the patient is life-changing. And because of that, they don't hate their dentist or dread coming to the dentist. That dentist will forever be, a hero and someone that, and so I just love that kind of business within a business of implants. And I see it as so different from typical dentistry that you can just sell out of the chair. It's very clinical. So I love that part of it.
Well, you're attaching clinical to the emotional. The patient's going to come from an emotional standpoint. These are some of the happiest patients. These are great video testimonials when we do that delivery and they're biting in the apple or whatever it is, right? There's such an emotional surge here. So if you can, in the chair, connect their, like we talked about before, connect their emotional reason for why they're buying to this process of the clinical side of the implant, how that's going to connect. You want peace of mind. You want, you don't want to have dentures in a cup like your grandfather did, whatever that is, that emotional reason. Now all of a sudden you got a win-win on both sides of it. Clinical, credibility, expert, and the emotional connection on the sales side. So let's go deeper into this in the dental space, implants. You mentioned something to me about the 2 comma club. What I'm curious. I know our listeners. What does that mean? 2 commas? Because for me, I start hearing dollar signs. I don't know what that is, but what does it mean to be in the 2 comma club? What are you talking about?
So what Dental Implant Machine has really done is kind of married some of internet marketing that has worked really well with traditional dentistry. So things like evaluation or lead magnets or tripwires, things that like aren't really on the clinical or medical marketing forefront. So they've taken those things, and webinars too. I remember stepping into a webinar where on that webinar, they scheduled like 44 consultations with patients. And it was one of our traditional type of webinars that we were doing. And just to be part of that and realize that those were all patients about to pay $45,000. I was like, man, that is a lot of fun. And the patients were so happy for that education process. And so the 2 comma club is for every one of our clients who has done $1 million through our process. So we have what we call a framework. We install the lead generation and then that whole patient journey. And everyone who does $1 million or more will get one of our plaques, be part of the 2 comma club. We've had offices hit it multiple times. I had a multi-office hit it over 100 times. So they had 14 offices. They've hit it over 100 times. And so it's been pretty fun.
Wow. That's impressive. So tell us more about this website. I'm hearing some phrases like, I can imagine people listening going, wait, he said tripwire? What's going on there? So obviously you've been testing some things. You're getting great results from these things, but give us a technical dive here on what you guys are doing to be so different and get such great results over the last, gosh, you guys have been around a long time, actually. How many years?
7 years.
7 years. So the last 7 years, what's changed? What's working with these terms that you're using, tripwire and all that?
Yeah, that's when I came from, spending money on ads to sell sometimes a product that was literally $4.95. We had a little booklet and we would get people to buy it for like $2 to $5. Mm-hmm. And so we came in and we realized in order to get that level of conversion, we split tested constantly, which means that we ran one version of a page versus another version, and we saw which one won. There's this assumption that the pretty one will always win. Sometimes it does. But what we found is the different value propositions that we tested over time, they wanted to know about pricing. And so we have a pricing guide system where we can inform them and give them the framework of pricing on our own terms. And that patients wanted to exchange value there, wanted to give their information for that. And the evaluation worked very well. And so in marketing terms, we would call that a tripwire. It's not a really pleasant term, but it means that like it's just a little thing that gets them moving forward. And so
to make sure I understand, they give their email address to you to get information about pricing or whatever it is.
Yeah, about pricing or if they qualify and what type of treatment they would need. So they're not willing to say, let me come into the office and do a scenario and circumstance that I'm already embarrassed about. But they are willing to say, I will give you my email, my phone number in exchange for some of that value. And now you've got them earlier in that buyer's journey and can engage them with different automations or with your appointment scheduler. Yeah.
So how does that turn into $1 million in implant production? Is that really reasonable?
Yeah, it's definitely. So, I mean, here's kind of the way the numbers can work. So, if it takes us $50 to generate a patient who is engaged with your brand, and then if we're able to book, 15, 20% of those into an appointment and 80% of them using kind of a framework that we have to get them to show up. So 80% show up, and then you use the right case presentation methods and you can get 25 to 40% of them to start a treatment. Suddenly you've got an ROI. And if you can prove that ROI on $5,000 and it sticks, and we call these our magic metrics. So at every stage of the magic metrics, we have a different training protocol to make sure we improve it. And so once those magic metrics are proving to stick, it's time to scale up. And so obviously spending $100,000 looks different than spending $5,000, but it's just a larger scale operation. There's a lot. The first place that things can break down is the appointment scheduler. I think it's underestimated the impact and what happens at the level of appointment scheduling.
What do you see there? What are some things you see? What do you guys do? I mean, that's definitely, you're starting to talk our language here with the great call process and conversion. And, you could teach all you want and train all you want, coach all you want, but at the end of the day, it's that administrator who's on the phone with a patient, and do they have the confidence, credibility? Do they have the skill set? Are they using the techniques to get the person to convert? So what do you guys see? I'm very curious.
Yeah. So let's say I get an office and they're like, hey, I want to do 15 arches a month. Mm-hmm. And then I say, okay, let's get real on, because we help a lot of people do that. What's that look like? And then we look at it and we realize you're going to have to get, for example, 300 leads this month in order to get those eventual treatment starts. And if they have an office manager who's kind of a hybrid role, that's going to be an overwhelming amount of follow-up unless there's a system in place. And if that person is not dedicated. So just to realize that appointment scheduler, not only do they do a lot of filtering, do they do a lot of follow-up, but they also gatekeep. That the customer calls and says, how much is it? And they say, well, it's 50,000. Do you want to do it? Suddenly your numbers, you're not scheduling 15% anymore.
It's not going to happen. Yeah.
So not only is there a systems workload issue that is usually unexpected, but there's also a skills gap that needs to be closed to really make it work.
Yeah. And there's coaching and training involved in doing that. We all got to be on the same page with how do you convert a new patient phone call? So I want to review real quick. So let's say I'm just going to be a little more conservative. Let's say I want 5 full mouth arches a month, all on 4s, whatever it is. Okay. I want to do 5 of those. And you're saying that the call conversion rate is going to be about what percentage? What are you looking for? What's your target?
So about 15%.
Okay. So 15%. So that means I get 100 new patient calls or contacts or leads. I'm only going to schedule 15 of those new patients.
So I'm going to give you these numbers kind of exactly.
Okay,
if you wanted to do 5 treatment starts, you'd probably need about 167 leads.
Wow. So that would take,
167 leads, you need to be booking around 25 of them to schedule.
Okay. So 25 new patients to schedule. All right. Yeah. And then that turns into 25. You're going to get a certain percentage of that. We're going to get 5 starts.
Yep. And we break it down one more to where how many actually show up. So you need
that's right.
25, you need 20 of them to show up.
20 show up.
And then, and these are kind of our averages. Like we have offices that are unicorns and
sure.
But these are the averages that we see. And so 25% would be a close rate. I worked with an office that had a 40% close rate. Their numbers suddenly changed, pretty drastically.
Most offices, when we ask them, I say, what's your case acceptance like? Oh, we get about 80% case acceptance. And there's so much emotion and feeling and confusion in that number. Yeah. And so, with a basic general office with all types of treatment, general dental office, all types of treatment there, here's what we typically say. Let's see where this lands with you, Jacob. So we want 80% of the people scheduling something. They have another appointment. Okay. So they're always in the hopper. They're always coming back. We're building a relationship with them. They might do one filling next. They might do scaling root plane, whatever it is. Okay. Total practice, hygiene, and new patients. But we want at least 60% of the dollars to be scheduled. And so we have a tracker that we put everything in and all that. But when you talk large cases, obviously those numbers change.
Yeah.
Do you have a drastic reduction in that? Because I'm talking about whole practice averages. So you get 20% case acceptance on $40,000, $50,000 cases. You feel like that's pretty good.
Yeah, 25% is kind of an average.
25%. Okay, is the average. Okay,
that we want you to be at.
All right, challenge accepted. Challenge accepted. All right, we're gonna blow that out of the water. We're gonna.
And what's really
figure out a way
is so many offices, especially specialist offices, they're used to encountering the patient further down the patient journey. So they haven't taken ownership of the sorting at all. And the problem with that is that there are people who are just ready to go. Hey, I know it's 50,000. I got the money already.
I've been doing the research.
And if you think that you're going to scale your implant production by finding more of those, you just won't. Yeah. The companies that are scaling have taken ownership of the sorting, have taken ownership of the educating and guiding, and have completely owned that. And for a lot of them, there's some assumptions that they think they're just going to get sent patients, and that's how it works. Because especially a specialist office where they've talked to the general dentist and they've been sent over and prepared, and when they see a lead who hasn't been educated or guided or financially qualified, they're like, "Huh, it's not going to work." And so,
yeah, totally. Oh my gosh, so good. So results aren't that easy to get. It takes a lot of effort, right? What's the competitive market like on your side? This is easy for Dental Implant Machine to do. Why isn't everyone doing it? Why isn't there more of this? Help us out here.
Yeah. I think the big kicker here is it hard to do? Well, it is if you haven't done it. Mm-hmm. Transformation is always hard. Mm-hmm. And so if you're in office and your patient has been in a chair and you're used to, you need this, and then like it's pretty quick and done, and now you've got somebody in that same chair and it's a pretty clinical environment, and you want to be able to be like, do the same process, and there's friction in that transformation process for that patient, and you're not ready to embrace that, it's going to be hard. And the offices that really crush it have gone through that, have realized we need to take ownership. This is different. I mean, in my opinion, you're not selling the patient on your implants. You are. They have to believe in your mm-hmm. service, your program, but the difference is that patient has to believe in themselves. And as soon as they believe they are worth it, that they are worth this procedure, and that they have that backing, then they'll do it. That's the difference. Not that they believe your stuff works. They'll probably know your stuff works, but they need to go through a process.
And so you're saying Dental Implant Machine helps walk them through a process that helps them understand they are worth it.
Yes.
That's amazing. All right, cool. So there's offices out there that we work with. They're like, I just want a ton of more patients. I just want more patients, and we'll sort them out when we get here. You guys seem different than that. You seem more focused in on obviously a niche. So what do you say to those sorts of offices out there?
Yeah, this is really interesting because if they are not going to, from the time that person becomes a lead, if they're not going to take ownership of the atmosphere and the guiding, it can be difficult to work with them. And so we have structured the way we're working with clients now, where we try to get three things from the client. One, we try to reduce the risk. So we offer a guarantee, right? And that helps reduce the risk. But we need their buy-in. Like if it's free, they're usually not going to make the changes. And so there needs to be an accountability so that they are actually going to implement the system. And so getting them to implement the system is the biggest challenge.
The team to implement the system, the dental implant machine. Okay. Yep.
Because we had a scenario in Salt Lake City, in Utah, I should say, where we were sending leads to an office, and that office quit. And they're like, these leads, they're not the ones, right? Mm. And we then worked very closely with another office, and we were able to do those same leads, same lead source, but implementing the program $1 million in a month on the same lead source. And so it just was like, it became more and more obvious that we need to help. We need to have a client who understands and wants to take ownership of that. And some are just not, my challenge is in conveying that, Eric. And I don't know how you do that, but that's our biggest challenge, is in conveying what kind of commitment that is.
Yeah. So I want to make sure I understand. When you said reduce the risk with some buy-in from them with a guarantee, the guarantee you're making to the dental office.
Right.
Okay. All right.
So when we bring on an office, we put ourselves on the line with a guarantee. So we won't work with an office unless we've approved that their area is going to be a win. There's some areas that are tough.
Yeah.
And, got it. And competition can be different. Cost per lead, cost per click can be different.
Too much. Got it.
So we got to make sure that area is one we want to invest in, because we're going to be investing into these offices. Essentially,
Sure.
That's the way we see it. And
Sure.
two, that team is absolutely going to implement the system. And so the way we work, the way our program is, I feel like it gets buy-in, but it also reduces the risk because of our guarantee.
Okay. So that's the first thing. You said there were three. What's the second thing?
Okay. So the first one was we want to give a program where there's less risk. That's what we do with the guarantee.
Okay.
The other one is we want a program where there's going to be a lot of buy-in. And so what we have is that the guarantee only works if you follow the program, right?
That's the team. That's the ownership. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Got
ownership. And the third is we want to make sure we have a program that has no ceiling. So even though the guarantee is in place, that's just to basically give you safety in your investment. But the earning potential is unlimited. Like we want you to make an additional $1 million in a year, which is really not that many treatments when you think about it.
Love it. Okay. Awesome. So dentists are out there thinking, sure, another $1 million. There's a recession coming and the economy this and my area that. What are you seeing that are the challenges that we're facing that you say, oh no, this is why it will still work or what have you?
Yeah. I would say in this environment, the soft skills are suddenly the differentiator. And what you guys teach, and I love the stuff that you guys have. And those soft skills are now, because before where a patient was not worried that much about the finances, now you need more soft skills to help them make the right decision about health, because fact, it is the right decision for their health. No doubt about it for me. And so those soft skills will help you do that in a more financially challenging environment.
Yep. So we call them human skills because you have clinical skills and soft skills, which totally makes sense. We call them human skills because for me, the book EQ, emotional intelligence, all that studying over the years and years and years of this, we understand relationship management is what we're in, and we're all in sales, which is just relationship management. Sales does not require money to be exchanged. It's just the agreement of information. Right? Do I believe what this person's talking about? That's a sell. The artist paints and then they got to sell the artwork, right? The dentist has a skill set, a hard skill, but the human skills to deliver it. You'll see on Facebook forums all the time. What's more important, clinical skills or the soft skills? Human skills, what we call them. What's more important? And you'll see this debate go on. And I'm always like, look, if you're a 10 clinically, which you have to be first, that's your foundation. Otherwise, you're a phony. But if your human skills, your communication skills, your relationship management skills are a 4, your patient's only going to perceive you as a 4 in that clinical arena. So you got to get the human skills, the soft skills up to that level 10. Totally, completely agree with you. So training of the human skills, training of the relationship management skills, the soft skills. It sounds like you guys are big fans of that.
Yeah, I love how you put it with the human skills. And to me, in that conversation with the patient, there's a conversation that's above the surface, abutments, what type of materials. Then to me, there's the secret conversation.
Yeah.
And the secret conversation is like, am I lovable? Will I be more lovable? Like, how is this, am I worth it? And if you can have that, if you can get to that secret conversation, the whole thing will feel different. With dentists that I talk to, there's a secret conversation too. They're saying, I want 30 arches. What they're really saying is, how can I change my life? Yeah. How can I have more time with my family?
Freedom.
How can I be the hero of my office? Right.
Yeah. In my town. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And so that secret conversation that needs to take place and the questions that can kind of get underneath there, the human skills, I love that. It's kind of my passion.
So our system for that we use is called the emotional exam, discovering the patient's why, and very in sync with you guys, of course, on this is interviewing the patient on all of the steps of what's going on with their mouth and what are they looking for and why do they want that. And you hear things like, I don't want to see dentures in a cup, or I want a peace of mind. I want confidence. I want to love myself again. All of those things. Yeah. That is what you're selling. You're not selling implants. You're selling the result of it. And Heather Nottingham talks all the time about sharing the sizzle. Don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle. What's the result of it? And so completely agree. Love that. So people are listening to this and they're thinking, okay, what do I need to do differently to get to this level? I always want people to listen to this and say, okay, I got some good coaching from Jacob. So what do they need to do? What do you want them to have? What's an actionable takeaway that you want them to leave with?
Well, I would say, first of all, I love the training and systems that you guys have in place. And so I've even referred people over because I love it and it's a good system and it's a good price. So that's a great place to start. And We also know that you're going to need at-bats. So once you have those skills down and you need the at-bats, we have figured out how to get patients to engage with your brand, how to create a unique value proposition so that you're not just another implant provider. Because sometimes it can feel like, well, everyone's doing implants now, but there is a way to make your proposition unique. And so, yeah, get more at-bats. And one actionable takeaway you can do right now is on your website, put a call to action above the fold of your website. I mean, it's such an easy thing to do, but it's very easy not to do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We watch so many videos and heat maps, and 50% of people won't even scroll down past that initial screen. So get that initial call to action, above the fold. If you're running ads for dental implants, get one on your homepage and on your dental implants page, because we've seen people get lost in that services menu. Is this cosmetic? What is it? And then they bounce. So for those super high value patients, make it easy for them to engage. And it's not just the appointment. Get them a little before, because there's going to be a whole lot more people who will exchange value earlier in that process.
Yeah, you're talking about reducing the friction. The statistic is 64% of dental team members don't ask the patient if they want to schedule. We say silly things in the office like, all right, you're all set. Go up front and they'll get you taken care of. Go up front, see Betty, she'll get you scheduled for next visit. We don't understand how to engage in that next step and realize asking for something is important. You're like, look, same thing on the website. Put something actionable at the top of the website. It says, contact us, call us here, set up a consultation, follow this link to learn if you're, have something that engages people. Otherwise they're moving on. Totally true.
And further for that, Eric, is we found that even if you had a patient scheduling widget and a phone number, that if you can have something that happens before then, because you got patient, realizes they're paying, wants more information, books appointment or contacts the office. So if you can provide pricing guide, an evaluation, a call to action, that would happen before that, and you have a follow-up process in place for it. If you don't have a follow-up process in place, it's not going to do you much good. But that's, of course, what the appointment scheduler is for, is to follow up on those who are not ready to book an appointment or not ready to call, but are willing to exchange information, right?
So our system for this is called preheating. And what you're basically doing is doing a phenomenal job at preheating the patient. So it's like getting them ready. They're more engaged. That trust factor goes up. Your credibility goes up. And by the time you're actually talking to them on the phone, they're so much hotter. They're warmer. They're ready to go. It's not a cold lead. So I love everything about this. Okay. So, all right. That's great information. Love this stuff. Let's keep doing this. How do people reach out to you?
Jacob at Dental Implant Machine. If you want to email me, would love to chat about anything dental implants and patient journey with you. And dentalimplantmachine.com is our website. And
Perfect. Awesome. So for those of you listening, first of all, if you listen this long, thank you so much for pouring into yourself and pursuing growth. I love it. If you're not growing, you're declining. So we have a strong belief that pouring into yourself is going to obviously create better results on the end. And this is one of those ways to do that. If you want to grow more, you have to know, go to allstardentalicademy.com, click on events, look at upcoming events we have. We're always looking at training. We have our onboard system, online onboarding system for you with training virtually all the time. So if you have new team members that you want to bring on, learn how to talk on the phone, learn how to schedule, learn how to stop cancellations. Then, of course, we have hiring. So if you're looking to get help with hiring, we have that for you as well. Please, if you're interested in any of the things that All-Star has to offer, send an email to Heather. It's heather@allstardentalicademy.com and take a step. What's that next step for you? Don't think about doing something, actually do something with this. And so thank you again, Jacob, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric. Had a good time, man. Thanks.
And for those listening, thank you for joining us and taking the time to invest in yourself. Until next time, go out there and be an all-star.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Dental All-Stars. Visit us online at allstardentalicademy.com.